westward ho! In this episode, we're headed to the southwest corner of the state, where we'll meet a brewing legend, taste everything from blueberry to bourbon-flavored beer, and even learn how to grow fish at a brewery. On Brewed in New York, Chautauqua, Allegheny.
Discover even more local foods and beverages at Taste New York locations throughout the state. Whether you're at a state park, sporting event, or stopping at one of our New York welcome centers, it's never been easier to choose local and buy New York. Unilam, a family-owned business in upstate New York serving the building industry for over a century. You can spot Unilam's finely crafted timber products in breweries throughout New York State and beyond. Learn more at unilam.com. 1886 Malt House, proudly partnering with New York's finest grain growers to produce locally sourced, high-quality malt for farm and craft breweries. The Northeast Hop Alliance, farmers, brewers, and educators working together to provide high-quality, locally grown hops to craft beer consumers in New York and the Northeast.
If you've never been to the Chautauqua Allegheny region, it's definitely worth the trip.
This beautiful county has more farms than any in the U.S., and waterfront property is everywhere.
But let's be honest, when I go, I want to check out the breweries.
Matt ventured out to Lakewood, New York, and got to visit a craft beer giant, Southern Tier Brewing. I think it's safe to say he was over the moon about it.
Oh, that's Steinecker Brewhouse? Well, you just got to see it to understand. Visiting Southern Tier today, you'd have no idea that it had humble beginnings. The campus is home not only to the brewery, but an enormous warehouse and even a distillery. Its beautiful grounds and wetland preserve boast 2 tap rooms, an outdoor patio and stage, and even a stones course, making it the perfect place for visitors to kick back on a summer day. Founder Phin DeMink started out brewing with his brother-in-law in Ellicottville, New York, and then learned production brewing at Goose Island. In 2002, the opportunity presented itself to purchase used brewing equipment for pennies on the dollar, and Southern Tier was born. But the taste of craft beer was still new to upstate New Yorkers, and Phin had to work hard to build the business.
In the early years, I spent a lot of time driving across New York State trying to get wholesalers to just pick our products up.
How did it go?
It took some time. In those days, the interest didn't exist. You know, I'd go in and wholesalers would refer to craft as, oh, this is that funny beer that we've been hearing about. For every yes, you got 20 no's.
But the people who said yes, their eyes must have lit up when they first tried that.
The funny thing is, once you get into craft beer, you don't go back.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you've found something, you've discovered something, and it's good, it's amazing. I just said, we've got to package beer, we've got to bottle beer. We can't just fill kegs, we'll never survive. So I started going to the chains that would listen, that were into gourmet products, and I was able to get my beer into their coolers.
Yeah.
And that was a big game changer for us.
A lot has changed since those early days. Southern Tier has grown to be one of the largest craft breweries in the country, with distribution to 38 states. You may know them by their famous Pumpkin Imperial Ale, but they also offer a broad range of styles and flavors that are born out of creative collaboration and skilled technique.
Do you still do a lot of the brewing now?
I do a lot of the innovation. Now we have an innovation team. So it's a little bit more of a calculated process. It has some analytics, it has creativity. So it's different, but it's still fun.
Take me through the process of how a new beer comes to be made.
We have a bucket that's just full of crazy innovations. You know, some things are safe, some things are risky. And anybody in our building, on our sales team, they can throw anything into this bucket.
What's a really risky idea that you're never gonna do?
There's been bubblegum beer. One of the things incorporated Mountain Dew. So I mean, there's just really oddball stuff, but you never know. You never know what's gonna be the next greatest thing.
Sure. Well, I know down in the city recently, the chocolate orange people were talking about, and that was delicious.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely found a niche with our dessert beers.
Yeah.
10% rich stouts that resemble desserts like creme brulee or chocolate orange. You know, I remember every year at Christmas I'd get those little orange chocolates that you whack and they, you know, they open up. You know, some of the inspiration just comes from simple things like that.
It's amazing that Blackwater series really delivers on the flavor it's promising too. How is brewing different now than when you first opened?
Definitely now, as we're producing larger volumes, as we're shipping to broader territories, quality really starts to become a primary focus. So with that, you need to start upgrading your equipment. You need packaging lines that deliver low levels of dissolved oxygen, which stales beer. Because we don't pasteurize, we have to be very sanitary. And then, you know, like I upgraded the equipment to have automation. You know, I remember the early days when I was running around the kettles and flipping valves, and you know, I was really part of the process. I was the process.
Yeah.
I want my brewers to be focused on making sure that the hops go in at the right time, that the enzyme activity is correct so the beer ends up at the right dryness or the right sweetness, the things that matter.
I got the chance to see the automation Phin was talking about firsthand. Southern Tier's VP of Brewing and Operations, Matt Dunn, took me behind the scenes of this massive high-tech brewery.
To the malt room, guys! So this is going to be our malt cleaning room. We receive 50,000 pound shipments of malt. There's rocks and wire and a lot of dust in that malt, so we need to clean it before we put it in our wet mill.
This is a really serious apparatus for cleaning malt.
Yes, it is. Yep. If we don't clean our malt really well, we're going to ruin our wet mill.
Gotcha. All right, what's next?
We send this malt over to the mill. Let's check it out. So this is brew house 1. This is a 110 barrel brew house. So about every 3 hours, we're starting a batch that's going to end up as 110 barrels of beer.
Yeah.
It was custom made for us by Steinecker in Germany in 2012. Brought over here on boats, and we built this building around it.
It's very clean.
Yeah, thank you. We pride ourselves on keeping it really, really clean.
So can I touch this?
No, you cannot touch these vessels.
And so what are these massive tanks here?
So we have a 5-vessel brew house. Our wet mill is actually under that vessel. That's our grist case, our mash tun, our lauter tun, our kettle, and our whirlpool. From here, once we make the wort, we're gonna send it over to the cellar and pitch yeast into it. So let's go check it out.
Cool.
So welcome to the yeast room. From our brew house, we send wort all the way across the building, 300 yards, into this valve nest.
Wow.
The same automation that controls our brew house controls this valve nest and all the machinery in this room where we grow yeast, store yeast, and pitch yeast.
And this is all controlled through this computer system here.
That's right. The same software that controls our brew house also controls the yeast room.
All right, so once the yeast is pitched, then
Yep,
what?
We put yeast in the wort. We're going to send it to one of the cellars. Let's check out cellar 2.
Love it.
This is the big cellar, or our outdoor cellar. We have 12 660 and 880 barrel tanks in this room. So they're really big and they stick out above the building. That's why we call it the outdoor cellar.
So these are the bottoms and they go really high.
That's right. They go about 4 stories up in the air.
Wow.
Yep. So there's about 12,000 12-ounce bottles in one of these 660s.
Oh, I know you have a big state-of-the-art canning line too.
Yep, we sure do. And it's right in the next room over here.
All right, let's go take a look.
Let's check it out. Welcome to the can line, Matt.
Wow, this thing is really big and really loud.
Yeah, it sure is. We're scrambling right now to keep up with Overpack, our 15-can variety pack that has 3 different cans of 5 different beers in it.
Yeah, so this is Pilsner you're canning now.
This is Pilsner right now, and we're packaging it into these open 30-pack trays, which are then sent off to a third party to mix into the variety pack.
What percentage of your beer is being sold in cans?
We're about 15% cans right now, about 50% bottles, and 35% draft.
And the can is growing or not?
Yep, cans are definitely growing, mainly driven by that Overpack can variety pack.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for showing me around today. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a really impressive facility.
Sure, thanks for coming out. Loved having you.
Thanks, man.
All right, cheers.
Cheers indeed. Before we left, Matt took good care of our crew with fresh samples.
Yeah, right off the mark.
Nothing more refreshing than a perfect Pilsner. But this wasn't the last sample I'd enjoy at Southern Tier. We're back in the tap room, and I'm about to have an experience that not many people are going to get. Phin is going to give me a guided tasting of 3 of their beers. So what do we have here?
We have our IPA, our new school IPA, And we also have our 3 citrus peel out.
All right, I know I like this IPA, so let's start there.
Yep, so this is legacy beer. We've been making this since 2003. It's a little bit more malty, very pronounced bitterness, and it's kind of got your classic C hops, Cascade, Centennial, Columbus. Very balanced beer.
Yeah, to me, that's what I think of as like a classic IPA of the region.
So the next beer that we have is New School IPA. 60 IBUs, it's 6% alcohol. It's a smoother beer, drier finish, not as malty. The hops that we use in this are more tropical. So we have Equinox, Mosaic, and those hops are very pineapple, passion fruit.
And just to be clear, those are notes that we're getting from the hops. No fruit is added.
There is no fruit in New School. That tropical flavor is all coming from the pedigree of hops. So where this has 2.5 pounds per barrel, this is about 4 pounds per barrel. And you know, I love them both. Yeah. I go old school and I go new school all the time. We also have our 3 citrus peel out, which is a summer innovation. It pushes the envelope of flavor, extremely citrus forward, 8% alcohol, sparkling clean, and also something that could potentially drift between the lines of beer and cocktails.
It does taste like a mimosa to me. I mean, it even finishes dry. It's got like a vinous wine quality in the way it finishes to me.
Yep, I mean, definitely people that are more wine drinkers than IPA drinkers can identify with this product.
Sure.
Yeah. It's good boat beer. We like boat beer here in Chautauqua County.
Well, thank you so much for showing these to me. I've been following your story from the city, but it's really great to meet you. It must be really edifying to see how far you've come.
It is, it's rewarding, but you know, the most rewarding thing is that it's never felt like a job. It's always been a hobby.
Amazing.
A big hobby.
The nearby brewery, where Phin DeMink got his start, owned by his brother-in-law, is still alive and thriving, with multiple locations and a widely recognized brand. So let's head down the road to see what's happening today at Ellicottville Brewing Company.
The setting for this brewery is a quaint vacation town that relies on an influx of skiers every winter, raising its population from 356 registered voters to 10,000 weekenders. From the beginning, founder Peter Kreinheder seems to have mastered the recipe for success.
When we opened up in September '95, it was probably the best snow season ever. There was 6 inches of fresh snow almost every day for 3 months. Phin had terrific beer. So out of the gate, we had really good beer, we had really good food, and we had really good snow. So we really couldn't mess up that mix.
Although there may have been some luck involved early on, it's clear that Peter's business savvy and attention to dining detail is responsible for the company's steady growth. EBC quickly became a critical part of the Ellicottville tourism experience and soon turned outward to distribution of some of its most popular brews.
We do a bunch of different IPAs, our Fistful of Peel, some sour beers, particularly our Raspberry Beret, which has done really well for us.
Our most successful distributed beer would have to be the Blueberry Wheat. It's everyone's favorite. It accounts for about 60% of our beer sales.
All kinds of people come in and drink it. It's just a really nice, approachable beer. It's light-bodied, it's not sweet at all, and it has a great aroma.
We're an intro to craft. There are way more domestic drinkers out there than craft. And so our blueberry allows people to step into that category without jumping to a 11% Imperial IPA.
Confident in Ellicottville's market niche, Peter still enjoys some friendly competition with his brother-in-law's neighboring brewery.
So Phin introduces a raspberry beer, like in 2006, and he goes, "You're no longer gonna be the fruit king." So I'll never forget him saying that.
All kidding aside, Ellicottville is a model of smart and steady brewery growth.
Running a brewery in today's craft industry is very competitive. The growth of our company is important to us, but we want to be strategic.
We have a ski town location, then we have a university college town, and then last year we opened up our summer vacation lake pub. We have all the Chautauqua Institute people that come in from New York, Pittsburgh, international. So we have this triangle all going on. And then in the center of it, we're building our production facility right now. We'll have a small pub there, a really nice tasting pub. Little Valley needs a little boost of something. So take our Ellicottville that does very well and transition some of that growth outside of the village, and then we'll have buses that take people back and forth.
A large part of what Peter is doing is building a community. He's providing an opportunity for people in our area to better themselves and provide for their families.
I grew up in Cattaraugus, so it's exciting for me to see something going in so close to my hometown and helping the local community with jobs.
As critical as EBC has become to the regional economy, their founding slogan, Brewed to Entertain, still guides the lighthearted vacation vibe that permeates all their locations.
Ellicottville is a laid-back, come to vacation, have fun kind of area. We want you to come here, relax, have fun, and enjoy our beer.
Traveling to discover new sights and tastes is what beer tourism is all about. But plan ahead to use public transportation, ride sharing, or a designated driver. Never drink and drive.
The Chautauqua-Allegheny region has a reputation for intellectual curiosity and culture. Nowhere is this more embodied than here at the Chautauqua Institution, a 750-acre campus that draws thousands of students of all ages every summer. We're lucky enough to be visiting during the annual food festival. There's a lot going on here to check out, so I'm gonna go explore and maybe even learn something.
This place has been around since 1874, and they keep visitors coming back by offering new content based around a theme each week. The theme when I was there explored the human relationship with food and beverage, hence the festival. Immediately digging in, I took a test to learn about the sensitivity of my palate, turns out I'm a hyper taster, and watched a presentation on creating cocktails using beer.
So we took these local peaches, roasted them down with honey and thyme, blended that down and added a little bit of white wine vinegar and a little bit of sweetener. Chill that down and just add it to the beer. So it's a low-proof cocktail. It's very refreshing in the summertime and works really well with wheat beers.
You've been in Western New York for a while, and there's a lot of breweries around here.
Absolutely, they're popping up all over.
What are some of the things in the beer scene that you're really excited about?
To see how collaborative they are together. I think it's great because the level of quality beer is actually going up with it.
Clearly, he isn't the only one who thinks so. The beer tents at the festival were buzzing with enthusiastic tasters, and it was great to see a flavor-curious crowd. In fact, broadening horizons is what this place seems to be all about. With its extensive offering of classes, shows, concerts, and recreation, it's no mystery why the Chautauqua Institution remains such a popular summer destination in Western New York.
Craft 101.
When you visit your local watering hole, beer may be the most visible item sold on the front of the bar. But there's a good chance that what's on tap is sharing some space behind the bar with a variety of wine and spirits. So, what's the difference? You could write volumes on the subject, but for our purposes, we're going to highlight ingredients, production process, and ABV. Traditionally, beer is made from cereal grains like barley, wheat, or rye. Brewers boil the grain to release the sugar, cool the resulting liquid, and add yeast. Beer is a fermented beverage, so this means that yeast eats all that sugar and produces alcohol. The beer is filtered to remove the yeast and is carbonated to make it fizzy. The amount of alcohol varies from beer to beer, but typically runs between 3 to 6% ABV. Wines are primarily made from fruit, with grapes being the most popular by far. The fruit is crushed to make juice, which is loaded with sugar. Wine, like beer, is fermented. So yeast is added to the juice and is put in a closed container so the yeast can do its magic. Spirits, or liquor, in contrast to beer and wine, are distilled. Distilling is a way of condensing and upping the alcohol content. These drinks start out a lot like beer or wine, fermenting away in a closed container. But the yeast can only take it so far. At a certain point, the alcohol yeast produces becomes toxic to itself, so it can't ferment a beverage much past 15 or 16% on its own. So here's how distilling works. Alcohol boils at 172 degrees Fahrenheit, but water doesn't boil until 212 degrees. So distillers boil the liquid at a temperature just above 172 degrees. This vaporizes the alcohol and leaves the water behind. Cooling the vapor and collecting the resulting liquid can result in ABVs ranging anywhere from 20% to nearly 95%. Wow, that's got some kick! In fact, they're so strong, they're rarely consumed neat, meaning by themselves. Cocktail, anyone? And by the way, New York State has amazing local wine and craft spirits too. But that's a subject for a whole different series.
Most of the places we visit on Brewed in New York do one thing exceptionally well: make beer. But there are benefits to multitasking. Today I'm visiting 520 Spirits Brewing, founded by Mario Mazza, whose family has been in the Western New York wine business for over 45 years. With this venture, Mazza has perfected the art of the crossover, from wine to spirits to beer, with refreshing results.
Some wineries loathe breweries that come into the neighborhood because they detract from their business. Our approach was, if you can't beat them, join them.
After studying chemical engineering in college, Mario was keen to add distilling to the family business. He started with fruit-based alcohols since grapes were easy to come by. When he wanted to branch into grain-based spirits, Mario realized that by adding a few extra tanks to his equipment purchase, he could start brewing as well.
There's that kind of argument that, you can be a jack of all trades and master of none. I don't necessarily agree with that. There is a little bit of crossover with some staff, and that's actually intentional because now a distiller will work over on the wine side and learn something and translate that over. Or one of the winemaking team members will work over on the brewery side and learn, wow, that's an interesting way to set that up. So our experience has been that it's helped improve the quality across the board.
Multitasking has also allowed for some creative barrel repurposing and experimentation with flavor.
We may have wine barrels that move over to the distillery, so they were aged port and sherry or fortified wines, and then we'll maybe finish our rye whiskey in those. We have rye whiskey barrels that after we dump them, we can't use them again for whiskey, but the really cool crossover product is using those barrels now for beer projects. And that's something that I think every brewer is jealous of, because I'm not going out to some barrel monger and saying, oh, okay, I don't really know where that came from. I don't really know what the quality of the barrel is. We have control.
This strategic control has led to some really outstanding beers, as I would soon find out.
I'm here in the 520 barrel room with Joe, who is the distiller here, but he also started as a brewer. And I know this rye pale ale is one of yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me what's in this.
So this is actually some locally grown New York malt, also locally grown New York hops that we use in our dry hop on this.
Wow. That is really excellent. It has that rye spiciness, but there's like a slight sweetness to the malt that I'm really loving on it. Ooh, that's one of the better rye beers I've had.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now this is essentially the same beer aged in rye whiskey barrels.
In our own rye whiskey barrels, yeah.
How long do you keep the beer in a rye whiskey barrel?
Until it's done. No, we actually age this for about 6 months.
Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, you get a nice caramel wood sugar from the barrel specifically, but you also get that nice breathy note from the whiskey.
It still drinks like beer though.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the last in the line is our Stout Lucia, aged in St. Lucian rum barrels that come directly from the Caribbean.
Wow, that is different.
So it's a heavier ester rum, but there's also a lot of really nice burnt sugar, caramel kind of characters as well.
This is like one of those special beers that you open with your beer nerd friends.
It really is, yeah, for sure.
Thank you for sharing these with me. I really admire what you're doing with your barrel program. It actually really sets you guys apart.
Yeah, it gives us a greater palette of flavors to work from that we can build on in the beer program especially.
Long before the beer hits the barrel, Mario Mazza works to ensure the ingredients going into 520's beer are grown locally and celebrate the agriculture of the region. Leveraging his family's experience with growers, he runs a small farm on the property in order to provide a full grain-to-glass experience for visitors.
We saw the opportunity with the farm, and it tells the story. You can see the whole cycle of where the raw ingredients come from in the field and how they make their way through the production process to the final bottle that you're tasting and enjoying.
This holistic perspective has been taken to a whole new level with the brewery's latest venture, a fish farm that feeds off of brewery byproducts. Invented by biologist Jerry Northrup, this installation serves as a proof of concept for a system that could work at breweries everywhere. So I was really excited about getting an exclusive sneak peek to round out my visit.
This is it. This is the timberfish installation.
I gotta tell you, I've never seen anything like this. So we're about 30, 40 yards from the brewery, and you've got wastewater coming out of there. Why do fish like this?
Well, fish are going to eat things like worms and snails and larvae. Those things, they're going to eat microbes. We take the spent grain and these wood chips and create food for the microbes.
So you're turning all of this spent grain and spent water into something that microbes love. And then the worms love those microbes, and the fish love the worms.
Exactly. You know, we have a clean water stream at the end, and we're also ending up with a wood pellet at the end that you could turn into a fuel source.
I mean, we've met people who are trying to minimize wastewater in breweries. We've met people who are feeding the spent grain to cattle. Now you can actually turn it into tens of thousands of fish a year. I cannot wait to come back here and eat fish that have been grown here. What will I be eating?
Trout, catfish, char. That's gonna maybe be paired really well with rye pale ale. The rye was grown on the farm and the spent grain fed the fish. So it's really kind of closing the loop and making a sustainable effort.
I'm like on cloud 9 about this. This is so cool. I love it.
All right, fantastic. We're glad you're able to make it out.
There's so much more to see and explore, but that's all the time we have for this episode.
To learn more about the breweries in Chautauqua, Allegheny, and throughout New York State,
follow us on social media or visit us on our website at brewednewyorkshow.com.
See you next time.